Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Laura, for those of you that do not know, and today's video is going to be a romance recommendations. However, we're kind of doing it through the lens of, if you liked this more mainstream, popular romance book, you will probably like this other romance book that maybe you haven't heard of that shares similar traits to it. And you guys really seem to like these types of videos. I've done them in the past, and I think they're really effective because I think it's so much easier to recommend somebody a book when I know books that they already like. So hopefully in this video you'll see at least one book maybe that you've read or heard things about that's piqued your interest and you can get a new recommendation. Or sometimes it'll even work in the reverse, like you've read the book that I'm telling everyone else to read but you haven't read the super popular one. So whatever way it is, I just thought this would be a different way to kind of give you guys some more recommendations. The books that I'm featuring in this video are kind of all over the place, like some are just my favorites, some are different tropes, so I'll obviously go into it, but I'm excited to share the romance recommendations with you guys, so let's just get into it. Okay guys, the first book on my list is not going to come as a shock to anybody, and it is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. And now, this is the book that I literally get everybody to read, but as soon as they finish it, they're like, Laura, what's a book similar to this one? And I've given other recommendations for books that I think are similar to Birthday Girl. However, I just recently read a new book, and it was actually recommended by a subscriber, so if this is you, if you're the one that wrote this on like one of my last videos, thank you, because I actually went out and read it, and that is Him by L.L. Ash. This is a book that I literally, until that subscriber commented, I had never heard of, and I was really excited about it because it's very similar to kind of the atmosphere of Birthday Girl. The plot isn't exactly the same though. Birthday Girl, if you've read it, if you haven't, you've probably heard about it. It is about a girl who falls for her boyfriend's dad. This book, Him, is about a girl who falls for her best friend's dad. However, I found these books so similar because in Birthday Girl, Jordan, the main character, and her boyfriend move into his dad's house, and that's kind of how she starts to get to know him. And it is the same situation in this book. This girl and her best friend move in with the girl's dad when they are going to college. This girl didn't really grow up with her dad, so the friend doesn't even know him. It's like the first time she's ever met him when she shows up for college, and they live at his house. So it's very similar in that respect. I do have to say, Birthday Girl, it's always going to be my tried and true favorite. However, if you want something that has like a super similar vibe, kind of reflecting concepts, they're not exactly the same, but they kind of have a similar feeling to them, I highly recommend this book. I thought it was really great for what it was, and it was a super quick read, super fun, and I think you guys will like it. Okay, next up is For Sweet Dandelion by Michaela Schmelzer. I still have no idea if I'm saying that name right, but this is a book about a girl who goes through a tragedy in one of her high schools, and she ends up having to leave the school year early, and then she has to move in with her brother and start senior year, and she ends up having to meet with a guidance counselor every single day, and she ends up falling for him. And so I kind of wanted to replicate that kind of student-teachery vibe. So the book that I would recommend if you liked this book is Burnout by Coralie June, I think it is. And this is a book about a girl who moves in with her brother as well, and her brother has a roommate and he's a teacher at the high school, and she ends up falling for her brother's best friend and roommate and also teacher. So I feel like they have a lot of similarities going on. It's like living with the brother aspect, student teacher kind of aspect. They're all of age in these two books if you're curious. However, I do think that like the student teacher trope, it's sometimes something I really love. Sometimes it's something that I'm like, I don't like this at all. Like, it really depends how the author goes about it, and I find that in both of these books I really enjoy kind of how it's approached and how it's done, and they're both super heartfelt books. A lot of kind of characters coping with their past and past things they've been through. It's very emotional, both of the books, but I love them both so dearly, and I highly recommend. I think they're very similar if you're looking for a similar vibe. Next up is For Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is a book that I've read and loved, and I've actually shared this comparison kind of in some other videos, but I just needed to share it because this is a book that a lot of you guys actually wanted like a similar recommendation for. And if you don't know what this book is about, it's about these two teenagers, and they're like pen pals growing up, but they don't really know each other in real life. and they end up meeting in real life, but they don't really know it's each other. That kind of situation. That's a very brief kind of explanation of the book. It's a lot deeper than that, a lot crazier, which you can always expect with Penelope Douglas, but it's a really great book. And somebody, again, like most of these recommendations, I swear you guys always give me the best recommendations, like you guys should take over my channel. This book that I would compare it to is Dirty Letters by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward, who is like my favorite co-author duo. I love all of their books that they write together. This girl and this guy, they're pen pals, and then the girl ends up having something tragic happen and she just stops writing him completely, and the book takes place years later when she finally finds another letter from him and they start talking again, and they have very similar vibes. I honestly like Dirty Letters more. I don't know what it is about that book. It was so good. I really loved it. They're definitely older. This one they're like teenagers, but this one they're older. There's another kind of like plot twist in it that I really enjoyed, so I don't want to spoil too much. However, these two books really do have a lot in common, and if you've read one of them, you'll like the other one, like I guarantee it, so highly recommend. Okay, next one is kind of an out there recommendation. However, a lot of people were asking for recommendations for this book specifically, and it is Step Brother Dearest by Penelope Ward. So I was thinking about all the different books I could recommend that are similar. This book is obviously about a girl who falls for her stepbrother, and it's her stepbrother that she didn't grow up with. Like, he's kind of new to the family and she meets him when she's like 17, and it goes from there kind of. The book that I'm going to recommend that shares a similar quality, it isn't necessarily similar quality, but it has the step family vibe. And I think this one is a lot more out there than Step Brother Dearest. Personally, I look at Step Brother Dearest and I'm like, oh, that's nothing. This book is Love Unexpected by QB Tyler, and it is about a girl who falls for her stepfather. So you can do with that information what you will. I personally really liked the book. I thought it was entertaining. QB Tyler's writing and her scenes are just so good and steamy and fun, and it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that I just like think her writing is so addictive and like you can't stop reading it. So I highly recommend it. However, yeah, it has that similar like step family taboo reach in it, but they're kind of different books. But I just thought it was something different. I could have given you guys a plethora of other like step sibling books, but I thought this would be kind of a different, unique recommendation that I don't think a lot of people have heard of yet. So it's new, it just came out. I highly recommend it, and let me know what you think if you read it. I'm really curious. Next recommendation is for if you've read All Grown Up by Vi Keelan. I realize a lot of these books are by the same authors. I just tend to stay in the same authors a lot. I read like every book by one author if I like something from them. So All Grown Up, it is a age gap book where the woman is the older one and the male is younger. In this one, I think she's like late 30s and he's like mid 20s or something, and the whole thing is that like they grew up together, kind of like he was like an older teenager before she got divorced, and they kind of had beach houses next to each other, and then she ends up getting divorced and they meet later on in life. So that's kind of the situation with that one. The book that I would recommend if you did like this book, I actually read really recently and I was obsessed with it as soon as I read it, and it's called The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan. Nikki Sloan is an author who I've read so many of her books, but I feel like I never talk about her. This is a newer release from her and I really loved it. It is kind of similar. It's about an older woman and a younger male. I think in this one she's like 40 and he's late 20s. Early 20s, I forget. He's in his 20s, she's in her 40s, or she's 40 or something like that. So it's a bit of an age gap, but still. In this one, she got divorced and then he's her pool boy and whatever, and it goes from there. The cover, the title, all of it sounds super, I hate it. Like, I don't know what it sounds like, but I hate it. I realize that a lot of the books I share, the covers and the titles are usually awful, so you kind of just have to learn to take my word if you want these recommendations to work for you. But I promise this one was actually really good and I highly enjoyed it. And again, if you like this one, I really think you'll like it. So check it out. The last recommendation I have for today is a little more on the tame side, and it is for if you liked The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I'm constantly asked to do recommendations for things that are similar to the off-campus series, so this isn't really that, because this book, it's just for The Deal. It's not for the whole series. If you read this book, it's not similar to like off-campus as a whole. However, I'd be more than willing to do like a whole dedicated video that's like, if you like off-campus, you'll like this, kind of like what I did with After. So let me know if that's something you'd want to see. But for this recommendation, I'm going to tell you to read Teacher by Fiona Cole. Teacher is a part of a series, but it can be read on its own, so keep that in mind. And these books are similar because they both deal with a female lead who has been a victim of sexual assault, and because of that, they feel like they're broken. They feel like they can't really have any positive sexual experiences, and so they acquire a partner who helps them through that. And so that's a main theme in The Deal and in Teacher. I loved how it was portrayed in both. The Deal, it's more like college fun. Teacher, it's a little bit like they're older and it's more mature, but really, really good. I really enjoy both of these books. But again, this series, the Voyeur series by Fiona Cole, it's not comparable to Off Campus, but these two books just happen to have that really really similar aspect, so that's why I'm recommending it. So yeah, I highly recommend Teacher. It's my favorite in the series and I think it's really great. So guys, I think those are going to be all of my if you liked this book then you'll like this book recommendations for today. If you guys do enjoy this kind of format for recommendations videos, please let me know if you prefer it to how I usually do things. I'd love to know your feedback, but other than that, I hope you guys got a good rec in today's video. Of course, let me know down below if there's any books that you would recommend in lieu of what I said for some of these books, or if you just have any other recommendations in general. You guys know I always love hearing them, so leave me a comment, let me know. Other than that though, you can follow me on all of my social medias linked down below, and you can read my Wattpad story, also linked down below. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you all very soon in my next one. Bye!